winner at Arizona, and just had a monster year. Had just under 100 tackles, 14 sacks, forced 6 fumbles. Just defensively, you've just got to be a disruptor, and that's what he was. He could just. I watched they were replaying the Oregon game the other day on ESPNU, and he had a lot of those key plays that got them the upset. So this is just a great defensive football player who's got a great nose for the football and great physical ability. So we'll move on to my top 3. Number 1, Joey Bosa, a guy I talked about earlier. Their best defensive player at Ohio State. Forgot to mention that. I think there's pretty much a consensus that he is at least predicted to be the best defensive player in college football this year. He's going to have a lot of eyes on him being in the best team in college football. So if he can just, get consistent pressure on the quarterback, make plays, be disruptive, he's really got a great chance to win this award. I don't see. It's up to him. It's his award to lose, in my opinion, because he's got everything he needs to win. Number 2, Scooby Wright, the guy who won the award last year. It's not an indictment on him that he's not number 1. It's just that Joey Bosa is that great of a football player. Wright, after a great season last year, I'm sure he'll improve. I'm sure he'll have a good year, but I just see Bosa having a bigger year, a better year. I think it'll just come down to the fact that Ohio State is going to be on a bigger stage, and I think that'll, despite the fact that Arizona is pretty good, and I'm sure they'll be on ESPN, but I think Ohio State's the team that's going to get all the attention, and I think that's also going to extend the gap between Bosa and Wright. Number 3 is Vernon Hargreaves. I mentioned in the article that this award usually goes to linebackers and defensive linemen, but when you get a great defensive back, they can win this award. I mentioned Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson, both from LSU, both with the Cardinals now, I believe. Hargreaves is a guy that I think has the ability to do that. He's the best cornerback in football. He's cocky. He's confident. He definitely has the ability. So that defense together, and his leadership will definitely be part of what he earns come award time. For a sleeper, Reggie Ragland from Alabama. This was just based on the fact that Alabama seems to continue to produce more and more linebackers. So, I'm just banking on the fact that this is another guy that's getting plugged into. He played last year, but towards the end of the year, Alabama's defense began to kind of show a lot of holes. So I think this year, as they try to refortify, Ragland will be the leader in the middle, who kind of holds that defense together. And it's also just banking on the fact that Alabama's produced linebacker after linebacker after linebacker, so I don't see why he wouldn't. What do we got next? The Mackey Award, Best Tight End. 2014 winner, Nick O'Leary, the grandson of Jack Nicklaus. O'Leary he was the rock in a Florida State offense that was extremely inconsistent and had some awful first halves. And I think O'Leary was the guy that kind of held it together. He was the safety net when Jameis Winston needed him. So, tough old school player. Didn't wear any gloves. So yeah, O'Leary, I don't know if I see him doing much in the NFL. He's with the Bills, so maybe him being in Rex Ryan's team will help him just because of the type of player he is. But yeah, he was a great college player. I don't know how he'll be in the NFL. My top three: O.J. Howard from Alabama, guy that doesn't get used enough because Alabama just doesn't use the tight end a lot. Lane Kiffin's offense, his spread look doesn't really feature the tight end much. But what I think might be the difference this year is the fact that it's looking like it's going to be a freshman quarterback starting for Alabama. So that he's going to need to be the safety net, the underneath guy that is a sure completion. So if he has to play that role enough, I think that can result in him having a big year. Especially at Alabama, where I think they want to get back a little bit to the offense they used to run. They want to slow it down a little bit. Second, Jordan Leggett. A lot like O.J. Howard, where hasn't had, one quarterback in his whole time at Clemson. Last year it was the battle between Cole Stout and Deshaun Watson. Now Watson's the full-time starter, so maybe this consistency, and if Watson gets his rhythm, I think a tight end is a part of any great offense. It's just, it seems to, every great team has seemed to feature a great tight end. So, I think that offense is improved and has more rhythm, then I think Leggett will benefit a lot from that. Number 3 in my sleeper are very similar because they're both. Number 3 was Austin Hooper from Stanford. Number 4, Hunter Henry from Arkansas. Both guys play in those power run offenses, which are actually unique looks now. Just line up, run the ball down your throat, I formation, and so that's what kind of sets these guys apart, is they can block. Hooper and Henry both have experienced quarterbacks. At Stanford, it's Kevin Hogan. At Arkansas, it's Brandon Allen. So, either of those guys, I think, can have a big season. I think Hooper, a little bit more athletic, shown that he's, I guess, a little bit more fits into the catch a lot of touchdowns, a lot of, all this stuff, because that's what we care about with our awards now. Hunter Henry, a little bit more old school, but I still think that his playing a part in a breakout season for Arkansas is going to be big. Okay, best defensive back for the Thorpe Award. 2014 winner was Gerard Holloman. People forget, I think, that Louisville was a great defense last year. I guess their competition was not great, but he was still part of a defense that was very good, and it's hard to do that in college football, no matter what division you're in. So, Holloman was definitely deserving of that nod. My top three: Vernon Hargreaves, talked about him, great, confident receiver, cornerback. Number two, Kendall Fuller, two big brothers in the NFL, helps the name value. He was the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. Good season last year, but I think this year is the year that he really, he breaks out and is just going to have a big year. Number three, Jalen Ramsey. We talked about Vernon Hargreaves being confident. Jalen Ramsey is in a whole nother dimension. He's a guy who, the other day was quoted as saying that nothing is off limits when he's talking trash. It's entertaining. I love that stuff. But then, in the article that I wrote, I threw in a little comparison, which I don't know if people will appreciate this, but he likes to talk trash. He talks a lot of trash. Goes to Florida State. Keep that in mind. Trash talking, track star, and first true freshman to start for the Seminoles since 1985. Who was that freshman that started for the Seminoles in 1985? Deion Sanders. So, a lot of similarities there. I'm not calling Jalen Ramsey Deion Sanders, but I mean, I'm just saying, possibly could turn into a great defensive back. For sleeper, I put Paris Logan, Northern Illinois. He's a fifth-year senior, also a kick returner, All-MAC in 2014. Northern Illinois is kind of their time in the spotlight has kind of run up. Now that quarterback they had is gone, the guy that was in the Heisman talk. But I still think they've got some really good players. And I think Paris Logan was one of the solid players on those Northern Illinois teams. So, not a Power 5 guy, but definitely look for him to make an impact this year. All right, the Biletnikoff Award. This award was highlighted more by two omissions rather than who was on the list. Because on the list, an okay group of receivers. My top three: Sterling Shepard from Oklahoma. Hasn't been able to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's got a chance to be a great receiver. And if he's healthy, he's poised for a big year. Real quick, Jake Mitchell Show, One Take Podcast Nation. If you want to email the show, it's thejakemitchellshow@yahoo.com. And if you want to tweet us, it's @thejakemitchell. And keep in mind, just because I'm going live doesn't mean that I won't respond to your tweets at other times of the day. If you're listening to it, if you're listening to it tomorrow morning and you've got a question, or if you want to tweet me a question, or if you want to email the show and ask a question, then if you email, I'll answer it on air, most likely, or if you tweet me, I'll, respond to you on Twitter. So, yeah, everyone says, oh, email the show, tweet the show, call the show. I'm actually going to respond if you tweet me, or if you email me. If you email, just put in the subject what you want to talk about. If you tweet me, just if you want to tweet me about the show, use the hashtag TJMS, just so I'll know what you're talking